Cloud. Okay. There we go. All right, you ready to go live?
Ready to go.
All right, let me just do one more thing here. Okay. Ready, set, 3, 2, 1. All right. We are live with Linda Reeb and Lloyd Reeb in the background, hanging out.
Hanging out. Yes, indeed.
Well, I wanted to welcome everyone to the live book launch of Wise Moms, the long-awaited. And for those who are joining us, if you would please just let us know everything sounds good, that the audio sounds good. Linda, give us a shout out.
Okay. Hello to everybody, and thanks for joining.
So, and where are you guys tonight, Linda?
We are at Scott River Lodge, co-leading a group for like a marriage retreat week for couples who are at midlife and taking stock and figuring out what they want to do in this next season of life. So it's in Northern California near a little tiny town called Fort Jones in the middle of nowhere. So we're hoping our Wi-Fi holds out.
Awesome. Well, it's looking good so far. Well, I just wanted to open up and introduce Linda and her book, and then I want to get into hearing more from you. But the book is called Wise Moms. It's a guide for building your home on Christ. And I know this has been a labor of love. It's been a long time coming. You've been involved in mentoring moms and mentoring mentors of moms for a long time. But before we kind of get into the heart of it and everything that we're going to talk about, I wanted to make sure everyone knew that tonight is special. Everyone who watches this stream, even for a few days afterwards, if you didn't watch it live, you can get 35% off the book, any number of copies. If you go to you can see the URL like right below. Actually, let's see. Let me make sure everyone can. The URL is right below. It's himpublications.com/wise, and the code to get 35% off is Wise Launch. And so I'm actually going to write that in a little comment here. And okay, yeah, and I'm going to pin it to the top. So without further ado, Lloyd, did you want to say anything before we let Linda just share her heart for moms?
Yeah, it's so fun being here with 15 or 20 people in midlife and, at a beautiful resort, thinking about what they're going to do in the second half. And many of them missed out on having a mentor in their life or having some of the distilled wisdom that a mentor can bring to them when they were earlier in their marriage. What I love about what Linda's done over these last 15 years is she spent most of her time listening to young moms and understanding what's working and what's not working in not only their marriage, but their family, the things they're fearful of, the things that they're excited about, but don't have good skills or don't have best practices, and distilled it down to 15 big topics that they repeatedly say are high value for them. And then she and her peers and her team have listened and learned and distilled from that a whole series of hacks that people can opt into and apply in their own unique family. So it's fun for me just to see her. Chad, I brought my own glass here to say cheers. I don't think you've got a glass of wine over there, but
Where's
cheers
mine?
to Linda for serving, hundreds and hundreds of moms along the way for 15 years and beyond. And it's fun to see a culture where she doesn't have smart answers. Every person's family is unique. Every person's marriage is unique. And yet the big biblical wisdoms apply to every single family. And so this is a tool to create opportunities for groups of moms to talk about this in every country and every language, and to explore what they can apply in their own culture with their own unique family to build a strong marriage and a Christian family. So anyway, I just wanted to jump in, not to overshadow Linda, but to jump in and just celebrate the backstory of how this wisdom got compiled, and now it's available to any mom that wants to form a group or bring this to their group or be a mentor mom for younger moms. And thanks, Chad, for all your work and making it happen. So cheers, and I'll step out of Linda's way.
Yeah. If you're watching and you have a glass, raise your glass and enjoy. Linda, you've been working on this a very long time. So let me ask, without further ado, what is the story behind this book?
Oh, well, it's a story with a couple of different aspects to it, Chad. I have a secret desire behind writing this book because it feels like a two-pronged book to me. One would be that I hope people will read it and really benefit and apply it to their one and only unique life. And then as I listened to moms, I realized, okay, I can work with moms in my own neighborhood, and 20 to 30 moms a year come through a program, and I can do that. And that's really great. But once I really had an opportunity to hear what moms were thinking about in different parts of the world, even not just in North America, I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we could create a book that had a little bit extra on the side, which you've encouraged me to do. And so it's been great fun to create a book that I feel anybody who has a heart for encouraging and supporting young families can jump on board and say, okay, I'm going to take this book and use it as my curriculum. We'll just get some copies for a group of gals, and whether in person or even online through bookclubs.com or some other group like that. It's super simple. If a mom had a desire to say, oh, all my college roommates, we're now scattered all over the place. We're all young mothers. What would it look like to take this book, watch the little 2-minute videos that go with each chapter? Here's a package that includes those, plus some Bible verses that align with each chapter and a discussion guide, and then just have at it and form our own group and just go deep. So I think that would be really, really great fun. And it's, a friend said to me, don't you feel funny putting your wisdom out there into the world for everybody to absorb? And I said, no, it's not my wisdom. It's what I've learned from moms over 15 years under the umbrella of God's wisdom. And it's a get you started amount for any young mom or any person who wants to work with young moms and convene groups of moms and have these conversations. So, because you and your wife are raising a little crew right now, and your family doesn't look like the family next door or your friends at church. You guys have your own personality, your own set of values. And so it's such fun to work with moms and to watch them flourish and figure out who has God made us to be and what kind of a family and what kind of a marriage are we working to build here and why?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny for me as a husband, as a father, to interview you as a mentor of moms, but really I just want to encourage moms. Like when I gave my wife this book, she was like, oh, great. Like every young mom I've seen has been like, oh, and it's so short. Like one of the things I loved about how you wrote this, Linda, and really this was your desire from the beginning, was to make it simple and short so that moms could actually read it and be impacted by it. I mean, it's just over 100 pages, and it's small, great questions in the back. And there's a video course that goes with it. We'll talk about that more later. But if you're just joining us, wanted to let you know that you can get the book off by watching this stream. You get special privileges. You can get the book for 35% off for a limited time only, just for people who watch this live stream. If it's a couple days later, we'll let you squeeze in there. But go to hympublications.com/wise. The URL is at the bottom of this video, and use WISE launch as the code when you check out. You can get 100 of them. You can get one of them. You get the same discount. So Linda, take us back to the time you discovered your calling to mentor young Christian moms.
Well, it was one of those callings that you stumble into, Chad, because I was just going along doing my life, and I had teenage kids at the time, and 4 of our friends all went through a divorce the same year. And 3 of them were Christian families and 1 was not. And for the first time, I really saw up close and personal what the pain that's involved for the adults, for the children. And something started stirring in me. I remember almost feeling angry and just saying, oh, this is so wrong, and just hating what was happening. And then I also looked around at church, and I actually sat in on a friend's class that she was teaching about parenting, Henry Cloud and John Townsend Boundaries with Kids program way back. This was, yeah, more than 15 years ago now. And so I just spied in on her class, and I realized, wow, there's a lot of people that come to our church, they become Christians, and they say, yahoo, we're going to be a Christian family. But then they would ask questions that helped me to see that they'd had no background in having any kind of Christian formation. And when I would first start meeting with moms, they'd say, I should probably pray with my kids. They're 5 and 3, but our family never prayed. My husband's family never prayed. So how do you actually start that going? And perfectly great question, right? So we'd meet for coffee and go through it. And so bit by bit, as I was telling my friend about this frustration that was building in me, she said, I think we should get moms together and do what you're talking about. So I said, well, what am I talking about? And she said, let's just invite like stay-at-home moms on a Tuesday morning, working moms on a Tuesday night, set up some rocking chairs, and we'll just find out what are the things, where are the areas they want to grow and learn? What are the things they're frustrated with? Basically, what's working, what's not working. And so I went to a Christian bookstore and I looked for books that I thought would be practical Christian wisdom for young new families and people just starting out building a marriage and building a family. And I really couldn't find things, everything was oriented more towards a Bible study for young moms, which is an awesome thing. But I was looking for something a bit more practical that would really help women break down the Bible's teaching and then apply it to their own lives. So bit by bit, I just started writing things down, creating outlines, and that's how it grew over time. Every year I would just add more to it. And finally I thought, you know what, someday I'm going to get too old to do this. And besides, there's other people who can do it way better than I can, and they have their own group of women. And so I thought, how cool would it be if a lady worked with a group of moms who live in a big city in India or down in South America, or I've met tons of wonderful moms over in Singapore and in Sweden. And then they could take what God's word says to families and apply it right into their very own culture. And whether you're working with a group of affluent moms, whether you're working with a group of single moms, whether you're working with a group of moms who are maybe in a prison and they've got children and they want to know, like, okay, how does this work? You could really customize it to your own particular group of moms. And then for young moms too, if they have other buddies in their neighborhood, or maybe they're in a Sunday school class or a life group at their church, it's super simple. Even if they are all crazy busy and getting together is just hard with childcare and stuff, it's like, no problem. Jump on bookclubs.com, set up the group, everybody grab a book. In fact, a leader could write tonight with your special deal. The book is reasonably priced to begin with, which is wonderful with the cost of books these days. But, you know, grab some books for a group or for future Christmas presents or whatever. And then that's all you really need with the package that you're providing that has the videos, the Bible verses, and all the things that help a leader just kind of run with it. So that's
okay. So I love that story, and just your heart. Lynn, I can say this, just your humility to say, hey, this isn't rocket science here. I'm trying to share God's heart for moms, but I've curated wisdom, and I just want to share it with everybody. And it's been so cool to partner with you. Linda's, for everyone watching, if you don't know, Linda's organization is called Moms Mentoring. So if you go to momsmentoring.com, you can learn all about it. Incredible new website. But the big focus of what she's doing right now, and really has been, of the Moms Mentoring group, is these groups of moms who really just journey together. The book is just a formalized, like, easy to digest way of walking together through especially, correct me if I'm wrong, these early years, right?
Yeah, usually we kind of focus on both the preschool years and the early elementary years. just because when we've met as groups, then the stories and the application, the discussion time, everybody's kind of on the same page. Whereas once you get up into middle school and high school, you have the same topics, but the context changes. And so we really focused in on that as much. But really, I think reading this book, and I know it's called Wise Moms, but maybe it should have a different name. I don't know, because so much of it is about family life, which involves, as you know, the dads big time. So, any mom reading it, if she's single, she'll benefit. If she's, raising children and she's gone through a divorce or is a single mom, there'll still be tons of great stuff. Who knows what God might do in her life later, and she finds herself in a marriage. So never hurts to read some of that as well. But it's good for dads too.
Yeah, and I have read it, and I'm like, man, this is great. Great for the family, I think, is a great way to say it. So kind of the original title was Build Your Dream Home. And that's kind of the idea, is what does God's ideal home look like? So let me ask, I want to hear a little bit more. Would you share, Linda, some examples of women who have been through mom's mentoring and God's used it to change their marriage or their family?
Yeah. One of the gals, Lori, she said to me, she said, our family, like, we're so loud and we fight and we love each other, but we just fight and it's uproarious. And so she went on to describe how it was. And so she came to see that as we discussed it, we talked a lot about rupture and repair, which was something I learned from a friend of mine who's a marriage counselor, my friend Leslie, who came to Moms Mentoring and spoke every year with the moms, which was very helpful to have an expert in the house, because I never pretended to be an expert. I just, I guess I forgot one aspect of the background, which was there's no perfect families. That's not what anything that you write for families is about. But I grew up in a Christian family where my mom loved Jesus, my dad loved the Bible, and they loved each other. So that was a pretty great foundation. And I got a good dose of Bible when I was younger. So as I was meeting moms who didn't really know very much yet about what the Bible taught for family life and marriages, I realized, okay, I have a responsibility here. I didn't ask for what I got. I just got it. So that felt fun to put that out, but I've never pretended to be an expert. And when women in the groups have had issues that need a marriage counselor or professional help, I'm quick to refer those out. But as Lori and I talked, we went through one of our topics is communication skills and conflict management. And I used to call it conflict resolution until I realized, wait a minute, we are broken, sinful, needy human beings in a fallen world. So as far as I can tell, we're going to have conflict to manage every day of our lives from here until we get up to heaven or the Lord returns. So we better learn to figure it out. Like, we're humans first and Christians second. So what's it look like to have a Christian fight? What does it look like to have Christian communication skills? You're going to have some fights. Everybody I talk to, if they're honest and I say, do you and your husband ever fight? They say, yeah, we fight. And Lloyd said, that's not a very great word. And I said, well, that's what the moms call it. So that's what I've stuck with. But what does it look like to have those ruptures and repairs under the umbrella of the things that the Bible teaches? Like, be very careful with your words. You can disagree, but don't go to bed angry. All those sorts of teachings. So my friend Lori, she came to see that her family, which had a lot of cultural heritage, Italian, fiery, feisty, fun people, but they were a loud family. And when they had conflict, it was loud and chaotic. And so she learned that she could do rupture and repair, and they could move in a direction where their conflict didn't have to make them come undone, where there were lasting grudges, where there were hurts that were deep wounds. And they did learn to be more careful with their words and to ask for God's help. And so it was really cool that she could see that they were always going to be a loud family. They were never going to be, she said, I meet all these Christian moms and they're meek and mild and sweet and gentle. And she said, I just feel like I don't fit that mold. And I said, do you think God used the wrong mold when he made you, And in taking that through, she was able to see that she could celebrate who God had made them to be and be careful to learn Christian ways of handling conflict. but not to feel like they had to copy somebody else's style and be just like someone else who had a much more gentle, calm spirit. So that was freeing to her. She just felt like, yay, I can be me and I can still learn and grow in this area.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in. One of the chapters that I love, when I think about the value of this book, this is one of the chapters that I think of. It's chapter 2, celebrating mothers of many styles. And just from the conversations I hear, we have a 6-year-old, almost 6-year-old, 3-year-old, 1-year-old. So we're like right in the target audience, my wife is. But just when I hear moms, it's so important for them to hear you can be you. And that's what I hear you saying right now. Like you're unique, who you are in your skin and your context and your background. And with your kids, there's so many different styles. And I love that you embrace that and make that a part of this. Let me pause here. I want to ask a question. So by the way, if you are watching live and you have a question, there will be time there. We're going to do one now, and then there'll be time towards the end to answer those. So I'm going to go ahead and ask one from Caroline Reeb Geck. Any relation there?
Yeah, I think so. Hi, Carolyn.
So that's your daughter, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's
She's
my daughter who lives way across the ocean in Germany.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah,
Well, she's watching live. So hey,
cool.
Caroline, shout out. Is it Caroline or Carolyn?
Carolyn.
Okay. She said, what is one hope for this book and its impact? So I wanted to go ahead and let you speak into that a little bit.
Well, Carolyn has a roommate who lived in Connecticut for a long time and currently lives in Germany as well. And she's a young mom with 3 little kids. So when we first started writing the book, she and her husband were raising support because they're working as missionaries in the Black Forest at a Christian school there. And so I said to her, hey, Amy, wouldn't it be cool if when this book comes out, you could convene a group of moms there in Germany and you and Carolyn can compare notes. And so they're just getting settled in, and she sent me a note the other day and said, hey, I'm hoping to do that next spring. I'm going to convene a group. And so I just think that's so cool. And then last week I met a lady out in Colorado, and she is from a Ukrainian background. And she and her husband have hosted about 250 Ukrainian people who they started out sponsoring one family. And they live in Seattle, Washington, and the family came and stayed with them. And then her husband's a real estate developer, and they buy old homes that they're going to eventually tear down and replace. But it was the perfect spot for this family to live temporarily. They just cleaned it up, painted it, and they could move right in and have a home while they're getting acclimated. Well, bit by bit, 250 people came. She just went every week to Walmart and bought mattresses and sheets and pots and pans and the get you started amount that a family would need. And these people incorporated into their church. So she said to me, can we get this translated into Ukrainian? Because these girls have asked if they can do a book like this. And a lot of them are young moms and they'd like to study these topics, but they don't speak English yet. So I thought, oh, this is so cool because you get it written and then it becomes an audiobook and then it jumps on Kindle. And before you know it, anybody can use it anywhere. So that would be a desire for sure to see people have access to it who maybe feel like they're on the fringe or, God's word is for everybody anywhere in the world. And it's just fun to partner with him in helping to move the hope of the gospel farther out and deeper in.
Yeah. One of the cool things is in every chapter, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, at the end of every chapter, it's a make it yours section. So you're talking about taking God's gospel. This is the little logo here is a house, and it's based on the theme verse from Proverbs 14:1. The wise woman builds her house. And for Christians, we build our house on Christ. And so the whole premise of Mom's mentoring and this book is building your home on Christ. And so part of that is she's got reading recommendations here of biblical writers, a talking prompt. So it's read, talk, and plan. But all throughout there's scripture. And there's an incredible video course that goes with this. And we've got a discussion guide for every chapter of the book. You don't have to do the videos. The videos are like 1 or 2 minutes per chapter, but you can download this free discussion guide. It's got questions for your group. and scriptures. So I wanted to make sure you knew, and that's all free. The instructions are in the book. So once you get the book, you can learn how to, there's actually a whole video course for leaders. It's like 3 or 4 videos just to help you get a video started, a group started. And you can learn, if you go to Mom's Mentoring, there's a way to sign up for a group. And Linda has an auto responder email and it tells you everything you need to know. Super simple. So just want to make sure you knew that. Okay, Linda, one more question before we take a few more. We got, Caroline's in Berlin and Bernadette Hackney, did I say that right? Is here. Just giving a shout out to a few people. Bruce Cindy Maurer, wonderful. She said, excited for how God will use this and all the. This is awesome. Let me ask this. Okay, so there's really 3 segments of an audience that you want to speak to tonight and that you want to engage this material. There's a mom, there's a group leader who could be a mom or maybe more of a seasoned mom, either one, or an even more, it's a mentor of moms. So what's a simple next step that each of those groups could take next to really engage this material and mentor young moms?
Yeah. Well, I think if you're a young mom, grab the book and read it. And from there, let's say you live in the middle of Idaho and you're a homesteader and you don't really have a group of moms around. So one of the things we did is as we thought about somebody starting a group of moms, we realized, yeah, that's great. But not everybody wants to start a group. Some people just say, hey, I'd love to be a part of a group. So if you go to the momsmentoring.com website, you can start a group, explore a group, which takes you to the group leader information, or you can just click join a group. And we are going to offer starting September 25th, an online group through bookclubs.com. So you'll get sent there where you just simply sign up, and then we'll do an online session, much like we're doing with the Facebook Live tonight. So anybody can join that and just have some instant camaraderie and discussion time, and we'll be going through the chapters in the book. So that would be just for an individual mom, or they could just, snag a girlfriend in the neighborhood or someone from church. I have a gal out in Seattle and she's doing a book club with her college roommate, and it's just the 2 of them. So you can do a book club that's 35 people, 2 people, whatever you want. And then if you are a gal that likes to convene friends and make stuff happen, maybe you've got a lot of young moms in your current life group. The only thing I would suggest with that, whether you meet in person or online, both of those are great options. If you can invite an older person, an older mentor mom, somebody even 10 years, just a little farther down the road, ideally someone who's 20 or 30 years down the road, who can just really support and encourage you as young moms, as you face different situations in your marriages and in your parenting, because they've got a long perspective and a long view of how God works through all the ups and downs over decades. So I would encourage you to do that. And then if you are an older mom who would like to support younger moms and encourage them, but you maybe feel like, well, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a marriage counselor. This book is really just geared. It's one of those, if I can do it, anybody can do it sort of things, geared to be used as a get you started curriculum. Gather a group of girls. It can be around the bonfire in your backyard. During COVID, I did one on someone's front porch, all wearing our masks. And just start going through one chapter at a time. You've got discussion questions. The girls will fill in the blanks, and you'll be amazed at what God does and how encouraging it is. These young moms get really hungry for community and connection. And to have an older woman say, I care about you, I care about your marriage, I care about your little parenting joys and struggles, that is a very powerful thing. So I just pray that many moms who maybe don't feel like they're qualified to do this will come to see that I could do this too. Just get started and see what God does. So any of those groups I think can benefit. And certainly, if you're a grandma and you've got daughters and daughters-in-laws or whatever, this would be a great time to stock up some books for stocking stuffers or whatever. And pass them around, or if you think you might want to do a group, even if it's next spring or something, and you want to grab 20 books at a really decent price and use them in,
Yeah.
in a few months' time, this is the time to do that too.
Yeah, it's like you're getting the book for like less than $8 tonight. When you go to our website. And by the way, it is on Amazon right now. So it's available there on Kindle, paperback, and it is available. If it's not currently, it will be available around the world if you have access to Amazon. So the Kindle, obviously, everywhere. But we're trying to reach out. So it's available in Canada. How you order that? Let's see. I don't have the link right now, but if you search around for it, you can definitely find a way to buy it in Canada. So I just want to let you know that. Let your bookstores know, hey, Carrie Wise Moms, and our distributor can get it there. So if you ask your bookstore for it, they'll get it. There's just all sorts of ways we can engage. We have a question from Chris Pickens. He said, you mentioned this is not just being for moms. This book isn't just for moms. What would you want dads to take away from this book? That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, there's a really interesting chapter in the book that I hesitated to write because it's one of those topics that needs delicate handling. And it's about submission, the paradox of submission. The Bible talks about submission, and we're obviously all to submit to God. We're encouraged to submit to each other. And then it talks about submission in the context of a family and a marriage. And so it's been really fun with moms for them to come to see that in their willingness to be equal with their husband and play two different roles and encourage and build up his leadership in their family, both servant leadership and just general leadership, where in our culture, it's so easy you hear so many references to the mother is the parent and the dad on a good day, he's a helper, and on a bad day, he's a total doofus, and doesn't know anything. And it's the mom who's the expert. And then a lot of women have grown up in environments where men were put down, and it's like, well, you don't know anything, just butt your nose out of this kind of thinking. And I think most of the women I've worked with, they come back and they say they're surprised when they really learn how to ask open-ended questions and really blend and align with their specific spouse, not in an inferior way. The world kind of looks at submission and says, a husband says jump and a wife says how high. And submission means you're inferior and you're a second-class citizen, you're less than. That's the world's view of that word. But when we unpack it in the Bible, then out come things like, what does it look like? What is the art and science of a marriage where a wise woman learns to blend, to align, to compromise, to build her husband up, to ask open-ended questions that help draw him out and support him? And the cool thing with young moms is none of us are fully formed. I mean, none of us are fully formed ever, but certainly in the early years, who your husband is now is not who he'll be in 15 years. And your influence and input into his life, whether you dominate, manipulate, are an arm twister, or whether you come alongside and say, honey, I know you're going to make mistakes, but I've got your back. I'm praying for you. God's going to make you into a wonderful servant leader in our family. And you're going to be a blessing to our family and to people outside our family even. And for a husband to know that he's being undergirded and supported in that way is very powerful. And what often happens then is a guy that's treated that way brings back this boatload of wonderful blessing to his wife and to his children. So sometimes a wife might feel like she's giving up, but she's really trading up when she really grasps. That's my belief. And so I try to unpack it a little bit in the book, but it is a wonderful conversation to have, both between a husband and a wife. So I think that's really a cool topic to wrestle with other moms, and also between you and your spouse, and really dig into that and explore it. So when you come to that chapter in the book, you'll get directed to other books and resources that can go into it in greater detail, even because it is quite a foreign idea to a lot of people, but it's in the Word of God. And so when it's there, you just have this sneaking suspicion that God knows more than we do. And so I think for guys and girls, as they plan together for their marriage and their family, if they can really stay aligned and connected on the things that are going to help their marriage thrive, so that 20 years from now, they're on the same page, and the youngest child doesn't leave for college where, and the mom and dad are looking across the breakfast table saying, and now who are you again? And so all those topics, I think the benefit for a dad in chatting about this book with, as his wife reads through it or reading through it with her, will be better alignment, a deeper, richer, more intimate marriage. And even if you have different discipline and teaching and training styles, different communication styles, to get on a similar page and become your own unique, wonderful family that just is a blessing to yourselves, to your own children, and to people around you. I think that's a fun endeavor, and it's a lifetime of work, but it's neat to see what God does in people's lives through all these topics when we really just are open to it and say, okay, God, I'm going to use your book as my guide. And you said, if we build our lives on your words, whoever puts my words into practice, it says in the Bible, is like a man who built his house on the rock. And home is where we get to practice. So I love saying to moms, hey, try something. And if it doesn't work, pivot. If you and your husband have these conversations and it shuts them down, head in a different direction. Let that go. Be open to just letting the wind of the Holy Spirit direct your particular family.
That's awesome. Okay, I've got a question from Bernadette Hackney. She says, do you have some advice for older moms about communicating with adult kids?
Aha. I happen to know Bernadette, and she's a friend of mine, a very dear friend, and she has adult kids. So we can talk about this offline, but which is wonderful benefit. So I guess I would have questions about, get curious. What was your family of origin like in your communication styles? As you see the wisdom in God's word about how we should be careful with the words we speak, and that words have the power to kill. There's a verse in Matthew, it's so easy to memorize. It just says words kill. Plain and simple. And we all know that to be true. And so I think I would say to people, look back and think through, what did you glean growing up that you would like to bring into your family? And what do you want to say, you know what, let's not go there. Here's an area where we didn't see modeled well what it looks like to fight Christianly, to argue Christianly, to settle conflicts Christianly in a way that's unique and suits our particular family dynamic, whether we're loud or quiet. And then just get curious about that and get compassionate with your own reactions to things, and then identify areas where you say, do I need to heal in any of this? Do I need to learn something new? Is this an area where I need to grow and humble myself, and maybe ask an older person or a mentor to say, hey, could you help me with this? You seem to have a good relationship with your adult children, the way you talk. I have a few questions. Could we go for a walk and chit chat about this as we go? So I don't feel like I have any set advice, but I think there's agency that all of us have to move forward in those areas that feel tricky.
Yeah, well, and I can share this, that from this is the kind of book that you can there's some advice that older moms with grandkids want to share with their kids about parenting, kind of things. There's a chapter in here, for example, I think about disciplining your children, chapter 10. Yeah. And so this can be a little sneaky way of having some of those conversations. So if you're an older mom, you've got grandkids, and you like, man, I would love to share such and such wisdom with my kids, but they're not going to listen to me. You can be like, hey, here's a cool book I heard about, And obviously you want to read it first, but then you can know kind of, it can be a sneaky missionary to kind of get some things that are important to you that maybe they would hear best from another mom. Her name is Linda Reeb.
Well, I just had that, a gentleman emailed me today and he said, I just bought a copy for my daughter and one for my daughter-in-law. He said, but I'm not going to give them to them yet. He said, I think they're going to really benefit from this book, but first I'm going to have them watch. He had me send him one of your promo videos, because he said, I think I need for them to feel like you're their friend and that they hear your heart and get to see, you know, the person behind the book. And then they'll be more open to reading it, because it is easy to feel defensive when you are a young person. You kind of feel like, oh, I'm the mother, I should know how to do this. But who knows how to, you should have seen my first apple pie. It was a first apple pie, you know? So when you're a young parent, I think really the parents are the only ones expecting themselves to be super duper parent, because, you know, we don't get trained in that. We learn as we go, which is good. Keeps us humble.
Yeah, and I think that's, to me, that's one of the characteristics of excuse me, of your ministry is, I think there's two words that come to mind when I think about what God has given you in terms of your message and your posture, Linda. It's humility and grace. Those would be the two big ones, is humility and grace. And but you're also bold to share, like, hey, you know, try this, try that. Just that humility to play with stuff and to try things. You're not saying anything goes, but you're saying there's a lot of different ways that can go. So one of the things that you'll really enjoy as you read this book is, this is meant to be a discussion starter, a primer. So when you get to the end of each chapter, if you're like, man, I really want to learn more about communicating and managing conflict, well, at the end of that chapter, there's resources if you want to go deeper. For example, she recommends the book Crucial Conversations by Joseph Grenny and Carrie Patterson and others. Tools for talking when stakes are high. Like, this is a treasure trove of resources. This is not meant to be the end all be all. I think you'd be the first person to say that, Linda. But it's like, hey, let's start these conversations. And then I love it too, at the end of each chapter is taking action, you know, but not like, hey, reorient your whole life. It's like, you know, in the chapter Being a Chief Life Officer, I'll just kind of pick this at random. It says, use your phone to make a list of all the components of your life. Assign a rating from 1 through 5 for each of them based on your values and personality. Can you omit any of them or rework them to align with your preferences and preferred pace of life? Like, just, that's it. That's the simple takeaway from that chapter. So I think this is just super practical. And yes, Linda's not saying that, you know, you can be you can be a wise mom in the pejorative sense, but like, you can gain wisdom by just having these discussions. So it's fun to see the comments from your friends and family. So Linda, I don't have anything else. Did you want to share anything before we close out for the day? I might add one little thing, but yeah, anything else you want to add before we close out for this live book launch?
Yeah, two ideas came to mind. One is, I love cell phones. So anybody who reads the book will see that at the end of each chapter, I say, hey, you know what? If you find it hard to say affirming words to your husband, just write them down and stick them in your calendar for Tuesday night, and then hit repeat every week. And then every Tuesday night, it says, hey, don't forget to say something affirming to so-and-so tonight, and tell them how I'm praying for them this week. I have that on my phone on Tuesday nights because I'm kind of, you know, I forget to be affirming. It's not my natural bent. And so I just let my phone be my little helper. And then I had to giggle at what you said, Chad, about, you know, a mother maybe giving her kids a book about discipline or something. I love the idea of saying, okay, here's this lady, she wrote this book. I don't agree with all of it. And some of it's kind of like a little bizarre or crazy, but here, read it. And then like, let's talk about it. Do you think she's onto something, or how did it strike you? So I hope the book can be used in that way, where it doesn't have to be preachy or stuffy, but everybody can hopefully take good stuff from it and apply it to their one and only life. So I am currently getting ready to be surrounded by people who are having a little pre-dinner cocktail party, I guess you would call it. So if it's loud, I apologize, but I think I'm pretty finished. So take it away, Chad.
You're good. You're good. Well, we just wanted to kind of round it out. I want to remind everyone that if you go to himpublications.com/wise, it's the URL at the bottom of this video, and you enter the coupon code WISE launch at checkout, you'll get 35% off any number. And this is a limited time deal. We're going to shut it down here soon. So if you're watching this or listening to it later, it's, hop on it before it's too late. It'll probably be just available for a few more days, but go ahead and do it as soon as you can. We wanted to make this a special celebration. We want to spread the seeds of this book launch so that it can reach far and be planted all across the world. And then just wanted to remind you that, there's a video course and everything. So just go to wisemomsbook.com. You can learn all about it. That's a great way. And if you go to there's a share button there. If you want to spread the word, there's images you can download for Instagram and Facebook and wherever you are. You can join this team of spreading the word. So we're so excited. And Linda, I'm honored. I know everyone's really excited. So if you're sitting at home watching this, just go ahead and give Linda a clap to say, well done. And may God bless you as you continue your ministry of mentoring moms.
Thank you, Chad. Thanks for all you've done.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Linda, you can stay on, but I'm gonna turn the live off here. So thanks everybody, and let's be ambassadors for the good that God's done through Linda and others through her ministry. All right, see you for now.
Bye all.
All right.